what if real strength means noticing when your body or your mind or your spirit is asking for something different so that you can feel more supported, more present, and alive in the life that you're working so hard to build? Hey, Emily.
Hey, Lori, so good to see you.
Yeah, so good to see you too. I thought we'd get started by introducing ourselves, who we are, what we do, and why we're having this conversation.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and start. So, my name is Emily Martin. I am originally from Freeport, Maine. I owned a brick and mortar gym for several years, about 4 years, where I worked with women through strength training, nutrition, and really teaching them how to feel stronger and more confident in their bodies, carrying it over into their everyday life. I'm an OPEC CCP, can be a tongue twister, coach and CFL level 1 trainer. So, a big part of my work has always been helping women lift heavy, especially women in different stages of their life. So, I work with women anywhere from premenopause, postmenopause, and postpartum, just trying to help them understand where their bodies are at and what they need now. Since closing my brick and mortar gym in Maine, I've moved across the country to McCall, Idaho, and now I coach fully online. So I work with clients through my app, Coach RX. We have Zoom meetings. I work with individual programming. So I really work with them through all stages of lifestyle coaching, strength, nutrition, accountability, helping them really align with who they are and helping women build something sustainable that works for their real busy lifestyle. So a lot of my work, it's not just work harder, but actually helping them feeling stronger and supported in the life and the body that they're in.
I love that. That is such amazing work, and I'm so glad to be here with you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that Maine to Idaho jump, like, wow, it's a big leap.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So I'm Lori Cox, and my background started in corporate America, leading teams for over 20 years in marketing and sales, including building my own agency and supporting other agencies across multiple sectors, focusing on technology. And then earlier in my career, actually, after selling my first business, I experienced burnout. It was leaning into those well being practices that helped me connect back to myself and rise stronger and more connected to a greater purpose, which led me to getting my certification as a well-being coach, becoming a meditation and Ayurvedic instructor, and building Phoenix Arbor, a well-being platform that offers personalized tools, including courses, coaching, and guidance that's really based on each person's unique needs and goals.
It's amazing. And I think we should probably say how we met too, because I think that's such a really fun and inspiring part of why this feels so natural.
Yeah, it's so amazing that we met through our friends and our shared love for the outdoors, camping and hiking and off-roading and just being outside.
Absolutely, which is super funny because we met being outside, in Arizona, and we're from totally different sides of the country, but we connected through adventure, the outdoors, and movement.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this collaboration just feel so good, that we both really care about helping women feel stronger, more supported, and more connected to themselves. And while we may start from different places, strength, nutrition, mindfulness, purpose, and resilience, in real life, all those things are actually really connected.
Oh, completely. Because the body, the mind, your habits, your everyday stress, your food, your workouts, and your relationships, they're all affecting and interplaying with each other within the body.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to explore together. So, one of the things that we really want to talk about is the belief that pushing through and being strong is always the way forward. Because a lot of us, especially as women, have been taught that. And, for me, at a time when I should have been celebrating after building and selling my first business, I found that I was really exhausted and burnt out. And honestly, at the time, not really fully understanding why. I was doing a lot of the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing. I was achieving, I was functioning, and I was showing up, but I didn't feel well. And it was affecting me physically and my shoulder and my neck. And spiritually, I was really feeling kind of unsure about where I was going. which then also affected my mental state as I started to feel less confident or unsure if I still had it, that I could be a leader in my own life. And then some of the practices that I used throughout my life, journaling, yoga, meditation, really became more than just the nice things that I did. I really leaned into them fully, and they became part of how I came back to myself. And that's really what led me to building Phoenix Arbor. But that's also where we want to start this conversation because a lot of women are carrying so much work, kids, family, community, health, and personal growth, all of it. And, in many cases, we're feeling tired, and that's actually normal.
Yeah, and I love how you used yourself as an example to give everyone. I think that's part of what I see too much of as well. Women are tired, but we keep on going, we keep on pushing. We're stressed, but we keep on showing up, and we're not really recovering in any way. They assume, well, this is just the season of life that I'm in and keep going. And sometimes it's a season, but sometimes that season has been going on for too long and for years.
Yeah, exactly. And for a while, that can look like strength to yourself and to the others around you as you're the dependable one or the one that can handle it or the one that people can really count on.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of women take pride in being that person. I know I have. There's pride in being capable, but it's exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. And, we don't want to dismiss that. I mean, capacity is a strength. But what we're really talking about is an old model of achievement, one that says that you have to prove yourself or you just have to push through or be strong or even like earn a rest or sleep or the chance to sit down and relax.
And the body can only do that for so long before it starts to push back and you start getting signals. And that's where I see it show up physically in a lot of women. A lot of women I work with are doing so many things right. They're trying to eat well, they're trying to sleep, they're working out, they're taking care of everyone and everything. And still, at the end of the day, they're extremely exhausted and burnt out. They're not recovering and they're not feeling strong because their bodies can't support everything or everything that they're doing and all the different energy that they're putting out, and they're not seeing the results that they expect.
Which makes sense. And that's what the old model teaches us.
Exactly. And sometimes the body just doesn't need more pressure. Sometimes it needs more support and more alignment.
Yes. And that is exactly the shift that we're talking about. A lot of us think that we're strong because we can keep going. But what if real strength also means just noticing when your body or your mind or your spirit is asking for something different so that you can feel more supported, more present, and alive in the life that you're working so hard to build? One of the phrases that keeps coming up for me is, I can handle it. And I say that with so much compassion because I know that pattern really well. I can handle it can be a strength. And there are seasons where we need capacity. We need to be able to lead, support, adapt, and carry responsibility. And a lot of women are really good at that. But there is also a point where I can handle it starts to work against us. We stop really listening to ourselves. We stop checking in or asking, do I actually have the capacity for this? Or am I just saying yes because I feel like I should? And over time, that adds up. You're still getting things done, but you may feel less present, less energized, or even less like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That one lands for me. So, is there anything left inside of me? Because I've definitely felt that. Is there anything left for me within my own energy system? When I opened my gym, I was pouring into everybody and everyone, right? Everyone else besides myself. I was coaching, supporting the people around me, trying to build a business and trying to market and do the sales and do all of the things. And at first, it was extremely exciting because it was meaningful and still is meaningful work. But I should have asked for support sooner. And delegated sooner. I should have, hired help sooner. I can't believe it took me a year to even hire a manager and hire help for myself. And instead, I kept thinking, I can do it all, I can handle it. And eventually, I was so burnt out and exhausted that the one thing that was once my purpose really started to feel
Mm,
like it was the last thing that I had the energy for and that I wanted to do.
mm. Thanks so much for sharing that, Emily. I mean, that's such a good example because it shows that even the meaningful things, the things that we love and our purpose, can become draining if we're not supporting ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's where women can feel confused. I certainly did because they think, but I want this, I built this, I love this, and why am I so tired of all of it?
Yeah, exactly. And then we judge ourselves for that. And society reinforces it. We've come from a society that we praise the person who can multitask five things at once, or, answering emails while we're taking a call and picking up the kids, making an appointment, finishing the workout and managing the schedule, and of course, checking on everyone else, and somehow just continuing to smile through it all. And then with technology, it's even more intense. We're more reachable. We're expected to respond faster and do more from anywhere. And then AI tools really perpetuate that sense because we can do more and we feel like we should do more. Just because we can do more doesn't mean our nervous system is recovering more. And that's where the science becomes helpful because this isn't just a feeling. When we're constantly moving from one demand to the next, the body and brain are responding. The nervous system is scanning. Am I safe? Am I under threat? Do I need to mobilize? Do I need to brace or do I need to push forward? And when that stress response gets activated over and over, it can really become your sort of new normal or your baseline. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because your body is adapting to the pace you keep asking it to live in.
That's where I think it's important to say that this is not weakness inside myself and who I am. If you're feeling depleted, reactive to people, tired, disconnected from friends, family, even yourself, or, uninspired by your own work, it doesn't mean you're not capable. It may mean your system has been carrying too much for too long without enough recovery and, feeling that sense of fulfillment and purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And the research around burnout is clear. It's widespread. It's not a personal problem. It's really connected to how we're working, how we're living, and the expectations that have been normalized.
Yeah, and the nuance is that we're not saying your work or your family and even your goals or your purpose are bad.
Right.
We're saying you can love your work, your family, and your goals and still be overloaded and not have a system in terms of how to handle it. And if you keep asking your body to do more without giving it what it needs, the support, the recovery, eventually your body is going to speak up and start sending signals to you.
Yeah.
And from the body side, this is where stress gets really important to mark and to understand. So, stress is not just emotional. It's not just I feel busy or I have overwhelm. Your body has a physical response to stress, which is something that I want to pinpoint. When your fight or flight response is activated, your cortisol is one of the hormones that is most elevated and most involved. So cortisol is not bad. We need it. It helps us wake up. It helps us function, respond, move, and handle challenges and adaptations, just like in the gym. But when stress stays high and recovery stays low or isn't allowed, that's when we can start to feel the effects of constant high cortisol in the fight or flight mode. So, let me just name some of the things and ways that people can feel this. It can affect your sleep. You could have bad or painful digestion. Your hunger and your fullness cues are off. Hello, like constantly snacking or wanting to grab this or that due to stress, your cravings. Your energy can be low or you just don't have any anymore. No motivation. Your hormones are often off. They interplay with one another. So if one is off, most of them are off. Your metabolism and your gut health, and gut health is huge, which we'll talk about at some point here, and how your body responds to training and becoming stronger. It all plays into and has an effect.
Yeah, and I think that often people want to separate those things, right? They think, well, my stress or my work is over here, and then my workouts or physical activities over here, and my sleep is over there, and how I eat and my digestive health is over here. But the body doesn't experience these things separately.
No, exactly. Your body receives all of it as this overload. So when someone says, I'm doing everything right, but I still don't feel good, I really want to zoom out and look at their life in a sense of, let's look at the big picture, right? Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? Most of the time it's no. Are you recovering? Are you lifting in a way that supports your body and doesn't put it into more overdue stress? Are you doing high intensity workouts on top of already having a high stress life? And are you giving your body any chance to actually adapt to it and recover and then build that muscle? Because workouts are stress too on your nervous system, and the body can't differentiate between the high stress in your life and the high stress in the gym. We can be so good at handling stress. That's how we build strength, right? That's how we build muscle. That's how we support bone density and have a faster, better working metabolism. But the body still has to come down from that and recover from all of the stress that you're putting on it.
Absolutely. It's really an important distinction that not all stress is bad, but stress without recovery, good sleep, nutrition to feed the body and support the body is where we can get into trouble.
Absolutely. So if there's no decompression time, delegation, and no rest mentally and physically, there's no fuel. There's no fuel left for you within the body to even send recovery signals to your cells. And the body may not be able to respond in the way that you want it. And for me as a coach, that's when my clients feel like, or they come to me saying, why am I working so hard and not seeing results? Or why am I so exhausted all the time? Why do I feel inflamed? Why am I not motivated? Why am I craving everything around me? When they sit down and they're in the office. And instead of blaming yourself, I want you to ask yourself what support might be missing for me.
That question is so good because it applies to all the different aspects of your being, beyond even just fitness. So, for example, if I'm being reactive and maybe snapping at people, maybe I don't need to be just more patient. Maybe I need to notice how depleted I am. Or if maybe I'm saying yes too quickly, maybe I just need to pause before I respond or take on one more thing. And even like rushing, speeding down the road and realizing that why does everything feel so urgent? And connecting to yourself, that's really an opportunity to see a signal about whether you're moving too fast and whether your body needs something.
Yeah, because the answer, it's not always you need to do more or try harder.
Right. And this is where our work together overlaps and is so amazing because the body and the mind and the spirit are not separate. The nervous system is part of the body and the brain is part of the body. So when you're under pressure, that brain, like alarm system and the amygdala in particular, is more active. And that's the part of the brain that's scanning for threat. And then at the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which is really our decision making area, and where we have empathy and planning, emotional regulation, and perspective can be harder to access. So, under stress, we don't really show up the way that we necessarily want to. We might snap, we might rush to judgment or over explain, say yes too quickly, or click and send that email or text that we maybe didn't want to. Essentially, we go into autopilot.
Yeah, and again, it's not because we're broken, right? That's just biology and science.
Exactly. But awareness, which is something that we're going to get into more, gives us that space. And that space matters because that's where we can start to choose differently and show up more aligned. And this is why I care so much about micro practices because we don't always need a massive lift or big overhaul to change these patterns. Sometimes we just need 60 seconds to interrupt that loop of autopilot. And when I talk about mindfulness or nervous system support, I'm not talking about needing to sit perfectly quiet in a room and a mudra position, and that's beautiful if it works for you, but for most people that's not reality in real life. We need practices and tools that we can use at any time, maybe between meetings or in the car, walking into the house or before a hard conversation, or even after reading a stressful email or text, just really when we're noticing that we're starting to spin.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate so much about your approach because you've done these micro practices with me before. For instance, we've gotten on a call and before jumping straight into work, we've taken a minute to breathe or just think about where we
Mhm.
want our energy to go within that meeting in the next hour. And it sounds so simple, but taking that time, it actually works.
Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoy that. And the science behind mindfulness and these types of practices is practical. Mindfulness helps us notice what's happening while it's happening. And again, while that might sound simple, it's huge because if I can notice that my shoulders are lifted or tense, or maybe I'm not breathing in or exhaling fully, or I'm rushing or feeling reactive, then I have a chance to interrupt that pattern. And then really what we're talking about is resilience because it's something that can be learned. It's not just about being tougher or pushing through, it's about noticing, pausing, and that gives you a chance to recover, respond differently, and really choose your next action with more awareness.
Absolutely. And for someone with a packed calendar, you, me, and most everybody out there, meetings every hour, kids to pick up, kids' activities, workouts of your own to fit in, meal prepping, work to finish, even 60 seconds, and I'm telling you, 1 minute can help you feel way more centered, which is really astounding when you give yourself over to it. And it doesn't have to be this huge practice.
Exactly. It's really just a moment. And there's a term called interoception, which just means that your ability to sense what's happening inside your body, like things like your breath, your heartbeat, tension that you may be carrying, fatigue, or even, tightness in your chest when you're stressed. Because the more you are aware of those signals, the earlier you can respond. And that's why practices like, breathing or stillness, visualization techniques, journaling, walking, or even just noticing your breath can really be powerful. They help to bring you back into your body, into that present moment, and help you get out of autopilot.
And I think sometimes people dismiss the simple because they don't seem big enough.
Totally.
But a 60-second pause, like the one we're talking about, can change what happens next. Truly. It can change the next email. It can change the next conversation you have with someone. It can change whether you say yes automatically or take a second and actually respond with where you're at in your day, in your life, and if you need a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. Really creating that space and that opportunity to be fully aligned to who you are and how you really want to respond moving forward. That pause allows you to kind of make that change.
And I think this connects directly to a big word here, but discipline, because we are not saying discipline is bad in any way, shape, or form. In fact,
Mhm.
it's what's helped us both be extremely successful in our lives. I love discipline. Discipline builds strength in the gym. It builds character. It builds confidence and consistency. It helps you show up when not motivated and to do the hard things anyway. But discipline should ultimately support you and support your goals. It should not be something that disconnects you from your body or the people around you.
Yeah, and that's a really important distinction. We want everyone to really listen to this because a lot of women hear a conversation like this and worry that maybe we're saying we shouldn't push harder or shouldn't have goals or be ambitious, but that's not what we're saying at all.
No, 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 not at all. Supportive discipline might sound like I said I was going to move today, so I'm going to move, but I'm going to choose the version that fits my energy, right? So maybe it's not a huge, crazy hit intensity, lifting session. Or I'm going to eat enough because I'm asking a lot from my body today. I'm going to lift because I want to feel strong, not because I'm trying to fit a mold. I'm going to rest because recovery is part of getting stronger. And my body actually needs that, right? Discipline can become draining when it sounds like I'm exhausted, but I have to do the hardest workout anyways. Or I'm hungry, but I shouldn't eat that, or I shouldn't eat more. I'm overwhelmed, but I already said yes to doing the thing, and then not having, or knowing how to back out of something that really isn't serving you in that day or that moment. I'm run down, but taking a rest day means I'm lazy. Or, maybe that's the thought process that we have yet to unpack, right? Or I don't feel good, but I should be able to push myself today because I took a rest
Mhm.
day yesterday. That's when people, stop trusting their intuition or their bodies even.
And that inner knowing that we really have, that our body helps to tell us, because our body gives us signals that we really shouldn't ignore. And we don't want to be thinking that, well, my needs don't matter until they become super urgent.
Totally. And we're not telling people to become lazy, right? Like discipline is good, but we also have to understand our bodies. And part of my work is helping women rebuild that trust with their bodies. What's actually good for me this week, today, in this moment, and what isn't going to serve me. Strength training can be incredibly empowering, which is why I love it so much. Lifting heavy can help women feel capable in a totally different way than I think anything else can. It supports muscle, it supports bone density, metabolism, longevity, and ultimately how you present yourself to the world and your confidence. But the goal is not to control your body into submission. The goal is to build a strong and confident relationship with your body.
Exactly. And I'm sure that what you're starting to see here is this really important connection between your mind and body and the spirit as well, and connected to purpose, is that your relationship with your body is so important. And it connects really to that bigger picture of life as well. And like Emily said, the goal isn't to stop caring, right? It's not to stop being ambitious or to stop building or leading or wanting more. The goal is to care in a way that sustains you, it's sustainable.
Absolutely. And so many women, I mean, we are deeply caring beings. Um, I, for one, I think me and my fiance always talk about it, like deeply emotional and caring. As women, we care about our work, we care about our families, our communities, our health, and our growth. And not to say they don't at all, but women give so much energy to that in their everyday life.
Yes, we are by nature very intuitive and feeling beings, and that's amazing. It's a gift, but yet not always including ourselves in the care that we give others.
Exactly. And that's where the depletion comes from, not just having a full life, but having a life where your own needs are always last on the list.
So let's make this practical, not a worksheet or something you have to download, but just something that you can do right now. So we'll start with just taking one breath, just noticing your breath as you inhale and exhale, noticing it in your chest and your belly. And then asking yourself, what is one signal that my body, mind, or energy has been sending me that I keep explaining away? Just one. And maybe it's fatigue or needing more sleep. Maybe it's a soreness that doesn't go away in a certain part of your body. Or maybe it's something that you don't necessarily feel like doing. Maybe it's a sense of that rushing or not being present. Don't judge it, just notice it and sit with it for a moment. And I'll invite you to ask this question: have I been treating this as something to push through, or is information to listen to? That's the practice. Noticing a signal and getting curious. Allowing your breath and your body and your mind to help you understand what's important.
And then choose one supportive response. So, not a life overhaul, just one thing. Maybe you need to drink more water, sit down and eat an actual meal. How you consume it matters. Eat it slowly, taste the food you're eating, or add protein to your next meal if you missed it in your first meal. Go to bed 20 minutes earlier tonight. Take a walk instead of doing the intense workout. Stretch for 5 minutes. Get some mobility if that's what your body is craving. Or take a rest day. Put your phone down before bed. Or you could say, let me check and get back to you, instead of automatically saying yes when someone asks you to do something. That pause is huge.
Yeah, I feel like we both really felt that even in that moment. It's just that pause, that moment of slowing down just for like 60 seconds is really where we come back to ourselves and where we're really able to listen to what is important.
Yeah, and it's where you start showing your body that you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's one thing we hope you take from this conversation, it's that being tired all the time, it's not just part of the deal, right? And if your body or mind is sending you signals, it doesn't mean you're weak, and it doesn't mean you're failing at what you're doing. It may mean something in your life needs more support and just a little bit of attention and time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that support can be physical, spiritual, mental, all of it. It might be, as Emily mentioned, food, sleep. Maybe it is movement and strength training. Maybe it's actually setting some boundaries or even asking for help.
Yeah, and we're going to keep this conversation going about strength, nervous system support, nourishment, recovery, your purpose, your resilience, and what it actually looks like to feel strong and steady in your life. Again, we're not saying we have to overhaul our entire lives, but just taking a second to listen can really make a difference.
Absolutely. So we invite you to follow along, subscribe, let us know what came up for you. Please comment and share your story. Let us know where you've noticed you've been pushing through or when your mind or body's been asking for support.
Drop a comment, send us a message, or share a question you'd like us to talk through in future content. Because if you're asking it, someone else is probably feeling and asking it too.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in our next conversation.